All this garbage going around about loyalty. So almost all of us are trained somewhere else at some point.
Cobra Kai never dies, and so it's back with part 2 of its finale season. The penultimate part consists of 5 episodes that take us to the heart of the Sekai Taikai tournament in Barcelona, which will decide once and for all who emerges as the winner between the two rival dojos, and ultimately which philosophy trumps the other, whether that of Mr. Miyagi or Grandmaster Kim Sun-Yung. The 3-part finale unfolds with numerous cliffhangers that keep the audience piqued, and at the same time, raise more questions than answers. There are impeccable twists and turns, and through it all, fans are kept wondering who the winner will be. After all, in the Sekai Taikai, Cobra Kai is not the only opponent Miyagi-Do should be worried about. There are teams from all around the world, and naturally, it would be foolish to assume that they're on a different level. As a lot of mysteries are unpacked, every character in the show has to reassess their ambitions and desires, and give their best to prove their loyalty. It's go time. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Nuggets from the trailer. The trailer for Season 6 Part 2 dropped recently, and fans went wild with theories and speculations regarding it. The trailer shows the Sekai Taikai in full swing, and Hawk is back with his signature mohawk. The Miyagi-Do team huddles up, and Sam takes on the captain of a Spanish team and earns a point. Dimitri kicks a member of Cobra Kai, much to the satisfaction of his teammates. However, Hawk is thwarted and kicked in the chest by his opponent, another Cobra Kai member. This follows Quan, the male captain of Cobra Kai, who takes on a British dojo and brings them down. Soon after, many Miyagi-Do members end up losing points successively. After a tiring first day, things were glum in the Miyagi-Do camp, but Daniel reminded everyone that Cobra Kai was only one of the 16 incredibly talented dojos in the competition. Meanwhile, Robbie, the male captain of Miyagi-Do, is clearly distracted because he sees Quan with his arms around Tori, whose defection is still a mystery. The audience does not know whether Robbie and Tori are still together, and Miguel chastises Robbie over this. Things don't go well for him, as he's brutally punched by a member of another dojo and vomits a mouthful of blood. John Kreese is back to being an old schemer, as his voice threateningly says how many people here have nothing to lose, but some, like Daniel, have everything at stake. This reminds the viewers that some puzzles, such as Mr. Miyagi's past in the Sekai Taikai, are still unknown to Daniel. Johnny is also seen holding a distraught Miguel in what appears to be a hospital, and we don't know the reason why. Sensei Wolf, the teacher of Iron Dragons, claims that he knows Americans, and can teach his students how to beat the Miyagi-Do dojo. He's also pretty abusive and problematic. There's a cinematic moment in the trailer where the Iron Dragons face off with the West End Warriors, and this shows the ring suspended in midair. However, in the end, the West End Warriors are eliminated. There's a funny altercation between Johnny and Wolf about the correct pronunciation of the city Barcelona, and Johnny's voice goes on to say that everyone in the tournament has trained in different parts of the world, but what's important is that they're here now. The Miyagi-Do senseis continue to train their students. In a very angry exchange between Daniel and Kreese, the former is shown pinning the latter to a wall. Johnny tries his best to inspire the students around him, and Sam appears to fight the Cobra Kai members, after having been seemingly ambushed out of nowhere. Finally, back in the USA, Amanda and Anthony are watching everything unfold through live television, but their reactions tell us that brutal things are about to happen in Barcelona. The trailer only incensed fans even more, with theories running wild, especially in a scene that shows Kenny back with Miyagi-Do. Some incredibly shocking moments are coming our way in Part 2 of Season 6. Now for the recaps of the episodes from Part 2. Stay tuned to know more. Season Recap, Episode 6. Episode 6, Benvinguts a Barcelona, picks up right from the end of Episode 5 from Part 1. And it turns out that Cobra Kai might not be Miyagi-Do's only concern. The host of the tournament announces how everything will work. The team events would come first, and the losing dojos would be eliminated. Then the individual events will occur, and the team that accumulates the most points will ultimately be declared as the winner. There's a team visit for the kids and a cocktail mixer for the senseis, which goes eventfully, with Daniel and Johnny still bickering. The former is looking for answers regarding Mr. Miyagi, and shows his old headband to Gunther, the host, who offers to help him get in touch with a legendary old champion named Master Serrano. This is an incredibly nice and lucky move, but it also leaves the audience wondering why Gunther would suddenly be so nice to Daniel. someone he's known for barely 5 minutes. Kreese is also at the mixer, and he has Master Kim's Unjang-Do with him, which he apparently now carries everywhere to show off. He almost gets into a brawl with Johnny and continues trying to sow seeds of discord between him and Daniel, which is an old habit of his. Suddenly, Chosen appears out of nowhere, drunk out of his mind and causing a huge scene. He says that he'd gone back to Okinawa to visit Kumiko, but apparently a man had shown up answering the door, wearing nothing but a towel. He smashes things and all in all, creates havoc, and it takes a lot of effort from Daniel and Johnny to talk sense into him. Not a great start for Miyagi-Do if you ask me. The field trip where the kids go is also not going great, as the captains are being given a lot of attention, which naturally invites envy from their teammates. Robbie's unable to focus on anything other than Tori, and Quan takes the opportunity to rub it in time and again that she has switched sides. Dimitri and Hawk are not on the best terms. Sam is feeling gutted that she'll have to face Tori again, after having tried so hard to work on their friendship. Devon feels guilty as she knows that she did not get into the team using the right methods. Tori reveals that Robbie knew Kreese had come to see her before her mother died, something he did not mention to his teammates. As he's already distracted, he ends up making a stupid bet with Quan to see who can kick the highest, and the winner gets the better room. Ultimately, both dojos are made to share the same room, which only adds to the tension. Also, these are not the only kids on the block now. There are many other fierce competitors, and one of the other female captains, Zara, makes it clear to Tori that she has eyes for Robbie. The premonition does not bode well for anyone involved. The ending of the episode begins with the Sekai Taikai tournament and the captain's war. Gunther, the host, explains how this would be a team battle, so whoever hit the mat would be eliminated, and the captain of each team would need to be protected at any cost, because if the captain hit the mat, the entire dojo would be eliminated. And this doesn't work out well because both Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai get their asses handed to them by other teams, especially because Robbie is simply unable to focus on anything except Tori. Miyagi-Do is eliminated, and Cobra Kai is easily gotten rid of by the Iron Dragons, whose sensei is Master Wolf, the same guy Johnny had brawled with at the cocktail mixer. Episode 7. As mentioned before, Daniel is oblivious to how suspiciously nice Gunther was to him about getting in touch with Master Serrano regarding the clues about Mr. Miyagi's involvement in the Sekai Taikai. He really should have been more conscious because he's taken to a strange building by a taxi, which speeds away immediately after dropping him, and then he's sold a locket by a strange little girl and then finally knocked out cold. He wakes up to see that he's in a dog cage surrounded by many other dog cages that contain extremely angry dogs. A couple of Spanish thugs are holding him hostage, and they don't take kindly to him asking them to help him meet Master Serrano. The question that haunts the audience is who set Daniel up here, and the usual implication could be Cobra Kai, but that seems a little far-fetched, even though this is what the episode wants fans to believe. Eventually, Daniel is about to get out of the cage using the locket he bought and beats up his captors, one of whom has a Cobra Kai tattoo. Again, it looks like the rival dojo framed this setup, but it seems somewhat unlikely. He's late to the next event of the tournament, so Johnny takes the reins and asks everyone to go full-on aggressive, which ends up being a mistake. As it happens, the first round required them to be aggressive and follow Johnny's approach, and this one needed them to be calm and maintain a balance between offensive and defensive, which is Daniel's key. However, both of these were botched, and fate is clearly not looking like it's on Miyagi-Do's side. After an unsatisfactory performance, Johnny tries to rouse morale with a speech that ends up sounding really accusatory, which has Sam fight with Johnny and Devon rush to aid him. Before long, the team is fighting each other again. Later, however, Devon confesses to Johnny about how she basically tricked Kenny into not joining the tournament, and then Johnny leaves a voice note to Daniel saying that he needs him now. Miguel is clearly not happy with Robbie being the male captain of their dojo, and botching it up by obsessing over Tori all the time, and it appears that he's mutinous. This is shown when he almost single-handedly defeats an Irish dojo, which stands in the way of Miyagi-Do's qualification to the next round. And to be honest, we can sympathize with Miguel a bit here. He's an excellent fighter who would have been a great captain too. Daniel finally returns after confronting Kreese for trying to have him captured, only to be told by Johnny that he and Miguel would be going back to the USA. Carmen has been rushed to the hospital. Something is wrong with the pregnancy, and they need to be there for her. This is not the ideal time for them to leave, since it would leave their dojo short one of their best fighters, in addition to losing their sensei. Episode 8. It appears that the villains in Cobra Kai did not go away easily, and it kind of makes sense because there are only a few movies to fall back on. Anyway, the 8th episode, Snakes on a Plane, sees the return of the infamous villain Terry Silver with his dojo, as if Miyagi-Do were not already in a crisis. With Johnny and Miguel going back to the USA, Amanda is asked to fly Kenny out to Spain to be Miguel's replacement, while Chosen tries to take Johnny's place. However, he does a lousy job as sensei, as he lets the kids out and then spends the entire episode trying to track them down and bring them back. The audience knows that Devin was the one who made Kenny tap out of the contest by drugging him with laxatives, but Kenny still believed it was Anthony who did it, especially considering all the memes Anthony sent him. Now, Kenny doesn't want to go back to the team so that he could be the laughingstock, and Amanda is disgusted by the idea that her son would do something like that. Anyway, Devin finally called and confessed, but not before Anthony chugged down a lot of laxatives to make penance for his supposed crime. The title of the episode refers to the plane ride that Johnny and Miguel take on their way back to the USA, and the snakes are the typical smug first-class passengers who Johnny immediately comes to dislike. Of course, they're not real snakes, but certainly come close. Things are also not going well between Miguel and Johnny, because the former thinks that he's been favoring Robbie this time around, which is indeed true. The thing is, Robbie doesn't have any college to attend or future prospects as such, so his winning the Sekai Taikai as the captain would have a bigger impact than it would on Miguel. But this does not mean it's okay to favor him, especially when he's not doing a great job at being captain and focusing only on Tori. His fears about Carmen and the baby do not help Johnny's mood, and Miguel has the same fears himself. They end up getting into a brawl with the passengers and then bond over what they do best, punching people in the face. Now, back in Barcelona, the kids have been given free rein under Chosen, who has let them out, and then, as mentioned, tries to find them all back in one piece. He keeps bumping into Kim Da-eun along the way, and it appears that there's some kind of sexual chemistry between the two. Robbie is sulking like a preteen girl and believes that Kwan is sleeping with Tori, and he's so angry that he goes drinking for the first time, which is never a good idea. Dimitri and Hawk are also not doing so well because the former believes that Hawk is trying to ruin his relationship on purpose. Sam, on the other hand, had witnessed Axel, the male captain of Iron Dragons, being abused by Sensei Wolf earlier, and came across him training on the beach. They bond well and stand up to Kwan, and thinking that Sam is available, Axel makes a move on her, which she obviously rejects. Axel doesn't end up taking this well. When morning comes, regret follows every decision that was made. It turns out that Robbie had spent the night with Zara, which Tori finds out about. Chosen and Da-eun also spent the night together, although they are less regretful about it. They're distracted, so they don't notice a guy with long hair and a Cobra Kai tattoo walk past them, the same guy Daniel had described to have captured him. Miguel and Johnny reach the hospital back in the USA, and due to a massive administrative error, they find the room Carmen was supposed to be in vacant, and the bed covered in blood. Thinking the worst, they both break out in tears, holding each other. However, just then, Carmen is wheeled in and she and the baby are fine. She tells them both to return to Barcelona since she's doing fine. Back in Barcelona, however, things are getting more tense, because it turns out the long-haired guy is working for Sensei Wolf, who in turn is working for none other than Daniel's old nemesis, Terry Silver. Episode 9. In Episode 9 of Season 6, we come across Terry Silver, who's escaped the charges he was accused of back in Season 5, and then meets Sensei Wolf, who is fighting in underground circuits. He was hired and made to work for Silver, thanks to his seemingly endless wealth. At this point, Silver's not just looking to take revenge on Miyagi-Do, but also on Cobra Kai. It also turns out that the long-haired man in the earlier episode was one of Silver's henchmen from the movies named Dennis, who had very few lines back then. Nevertheless, it's a blast from the past and a nice way of rounding up the series with the movies. Now that they're fighting both Cobra Kai and Iron Dragons, the Miyagi-Do kids need to be working together on the same page, which they're unfortunately not doing. Kenny is back and has taken Devin's place on the team, and has also forgiven her for doing what she did because she confessed and apologized. However, Dimitri is less than convinced because he has a feeling that Kreese or Silver will try to target Kenny and switch his allegiance the same way they did with Tori. Although Kenny is Miyagi-Do in blood, Dimitri cannot let his suspicion go away throughout the episode. In the 3 points round, Cobra Kai and Iron Dragons do well, but Miyagi-Do does not. Robbie is still obsessing over Tori, and now the added guilt of having spent the night with Zara looming over his head. Miguel gives him a real good pep talk, but it doesn't seem to have a lot of effect, and he remains distracted, which affects his game. Johnny, Daniel, and Chosen try to get Silver and Kreese to turn on each other and present a united front. Tori leads Cobra Kai to take on a loss because she too is distracted by Robbie's actions. Dimitri's assumption that Silver would come to target Kenny to sell out Miyagi-Do actually comes true, and there are a few moments where it looks like Kenny might actually consider his offer. However, that doesn't happen, and Robbie makes an executive decision to let Kenny take on a few strong opponents, which he does with ease and gives Silver the finger, and with this, Miyagi-Do is back as a united team. Apparently, one strong win is all they need to resolve their infighting and focus only on the competition. It was somewhat exhausting to see the constant infighting, especially at a crucial stage like this, where there can be no mistake, and the misunderstandings can all be solved with proper communication and nothing else. But ultimately, all's well that ends well. The episode boils down to the age-old rivalry between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, as they finally face off, and in a very crucial fight too, because this will determine who will advance to the next round and who will go home. It's during the fighting that Robbie and Tori Tori argue about their differences and seemingly settle them. It's a little dumb of Robbie to have taken this long to believe that Kwon was just manipulating him by using Tori as a tool, but once he does, he's back to his usual form. He starts tapping into his full potential, which is amazing because the fight ends up between him and Kwon. Finally, Robbie takes a decisive win and defeats Kwon the Death Machine, and Miyagi-Do is excited to advance to the next round. Things are looking great for everyone except Daniel. It happens that Silver gives him the record for the Sekai Taikai match in which Mr. Miyagi had participated, and it turns out the match had ended in the death of an opponent. Mr. Miyagi had killed his opponent. Episode 10. The 10th episode is titled Unjang-Do, and is a reference to the knife that Master Kim had asked Kreese to retrieve in part 1 of Season 6. This is significant, because why would the name of a knife be important enough to be an episode title? Does someone get stabbed? Well, you'll find out in a minute. Mr. Miyagi's murderous past makes a comeback, as we see a young Mr. Miyagi fight an opponent. Only this is not a flashback, but a nightmare that Daniel is having, where he's fighting his master. He's obviously coming to terms with the fact that Mr. Miyagi had killed someone in the past. Martial arts and karate are all about fighting, yes, but killing someone during a fight is not what Miyagi-Do stands for, and the fact that his beloved sensei had done something so opposite to his beliefs is baffling to Daniel. Gunther also says to him that the results of Mr. Miyagi's fight, as given to him by Silver, were indeed correct, as deaths were common in Sekai Taikai back then. Now, in the previous episode, Cobra Kai was eliminated after Robbie bested Kwon and defeated him, helping Miyagi-Do advance to the next round. However, the show would not go on without the titular duo, and therefore, in a cinematic but not so unpredictable turn of events, Gunther gathers all the dojos, even the eliminated ones, and informs them that one of them has cheated. Sensei Ivanov's team was found to be taking performance-enhancing drugs, and thus they were eliminated. This left a spot open, and Cobra Kai, being the team with the next highest points, advances to the next round, much to the chagrin of Miyagi-Do. The semi-finals would be Sam against Tori and Axel against Robbie, in 3 2-minute rounds with unlimited scoring. Any dojo can win, and the fight would be completely unpredictable. Daniel is still very distracted by the revelation about Mr. Miyagi, so he's bickering again with Johnny, and is only stopped when Miguel gives them a very stern talking to get their stuff together for the sake of the team. During Robbie and Axel's match, Sensei Ivanov suddenly knocks Gunther unconscious, and the whole stadium becomes a fighting ring for all the senseis and kids. There's a lot going on, so it's difficult to keep track of what everyone is doing, not to mention that this is being broadcast all over the world. Literally everyone is fighting each other, and we don't know who to support and who not to, because how can we possibly do that when we can't even understand why people are suddenly fighting? Silver's comeback implies in part that Kreese has a redemption arc and is finally coming around, and that Silver is the big bad wolf instead of Kreese. Kreese, as mentioned, always carries around his Unjang-Do and tries to stab Silver with it. However, he loses it in the middle of the battle, and then Kwon finds it and tries to stab Axel with it. None of these people have any chill. However, in a tragic turn of events, Kwon is knocked into the air and lands directly on the knife, which stabs him. The episode ends with what appears to be Kwon dying from blood loss, an event that can possibly throw everything that has happened this far into complete disarray.
I guess I'm gonna have to finish this with my bare hands.
Season 6 Part 2 ending explained. Season 6 Part 2 of the show ends with a cliffhanger and yet another death in the Sekai Taikai. Things are no longer just light and airy, considering that in a tournament that's being broadcast around the world, a student ended up dying on live television. Moreover, the knife that killed him belonged to none other than John Kreese, so we can certainly see him being implicated in the tragedy, even though Kreese wanted to kill Silver with it, not his own student. Ultimately, it was his own belief about do or die that came back to bite him, when his best student died from his own prided weapon. Earlier, Tori had asked Kim Da-eun if it was worth it to leave everything behind to become the best fighter in the tournament. She didn't just mean leaving desires and otherworldly aspirations behind to focus only on discipline and training, of course. She also meant if it was worth it to leave behind friendship and love. Although Da-eun had told her that it was worth it, she was not satisfied with her answer. Nor was Tori. Kwon's death in the tournament will bring this into perspective, because all throughout the series so far, people have been hurt, hospitalized, sent to jail, and everything, but no one has died. It will certainly be a definitive moment, not just for Tori, but also for Kim Da-eun, as they will have to revisit their conversation and decide whether it is indeed worth it to give up everything, and put it all on the line, even death, just to be the best fighter on the mat. It will also be a figurative stab for Kreese himself, who had taught his students about never giving up, and always fighting to the death, now that one of them had literally died. Kwon being dubbed as a death machine by fans really came back to haunt everyone in the most ironic way. While this part of Season 6 brings up a huge revelation information about Mr. Miyagi's past that haunts Daniel for natural reasons. It doesn't say much more about him, which has left fans worrying about the truth of it all, which will probably be revealed in the next and final part of Season 6. Daniel always viewed Mr. Miyagi as someone who could do no wrong, and despite his teachings about karate, was always a man who emphasized balance. He's unable to face the truth now that he knows his teacher had killed someone back in the day. While a lot of this is because Daniel had a very unidimensional opinion of Mr. Miyagi, it does matter to destroy his entire belief system. The innate Miyagi-ness that Daniel had embraced in every aspect of his life now stands at a crossroads. It will be very interesting to see how the final few episodes will tie up the loose ends, and whether it will result in Daniel completely giving up his ideals about finding balance in life.
Captains, you will have the honor and privilege to compete in our televised tournament.
Marvelous verdict. If there's one word to describe part 2 of Season 6 of Cobra Kai, it would be unpredictable. For one, I certainly thought some parts were too stretched out unnecessarily, because the infighting among the Miyagi-Do students could have been minimized, and some more time could have been devoted to Daniel grappling with the truth about Mr. Miyagi. Also, the part where Miguel and Johnny ended up going back to the States was kind of unnecessary, because Devin was going to confess about drugging Kenny anyway, which would result in him coming back to the team. There were too many fillers in the beginning for sure, and the last 2 episodes seemed rushed, and we know it's for cinematic effect, but what's with the entire Sekai Taikai descending into chaos just because of one dojo and their really unnerved sensei? Considering this is the biggest karate competition in the world, you would think they'd have better logistics. Of course, we understand that had this not happened, Quan would not have died, but even then, there could have been a better way to show Kreese and Silver coming to a head with each other than having the entire tournament descend into complete chaos. Overall, there's a lot of drama and fighting, along with chilling revelations and tragic moments. The final season is gearing up for an unexpected ending, because no one knows how the show will continue now. Will the Sekai Taikai be scrapped completely because of the death of a student, or will it continue regardless, considering that there have been deaths in the tournament before? How will Quan's death affect Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do? Will Daniel finally be able to come to terms with knowing that his master was not a black and white human being? Keep your eyes on Netflix and our channel to know more. Till then, stay well and let us know in the comments what you think about this show so far.